Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are back for another Faith Walkers Network segment. I am Dr. LaJuana Michelle. I am the founder of the Faith Walkers Network, and we have something so amazing today that we are going to delve into. It's called social entrepreneurship, and I have with me a serial entrepreneur, but she is someone that I have known a long, long time. And I believe that the relationship and the friendship that we have grown to have with one another has been so marvelous that she is the perfect person to come on the Faith Walker Network in order to talk about social entrepreneurship. So who am I speaking about? I am speaking about Miss Arriel Bivens-Biggs. However, she's better known as Boss Mom. And to many, she's a wife. She's she's a wife. She's a mother to her children. She is an amazing friend. She is a serial entrepreneur, but we have her in the studio today, and I want you to give a thunderous applause to our special guest on today, Miss Arriel Biggs. Come on, clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands, clap your hands. Arriel, hello. Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. I didn't think you was talking about me. I'm serious, but I thank you. I thank you so much for the introduction, because it takes a lot for somebody to call somebody friend,
Yes.
and then to vouch for somebody,
Yes.
and watching the consistent walk over years.
Yes.
It takes a lot. So I'm appreciative, humbled,
Yes.
and I'm like, oh, is she talking about me?
Yes. I believe in celebrating others. I believe in giving them honor where honor is due. And I believe that you have put in such great work in the department and the industries that God has called you to. And when I see someone that deserves honor and to be celebrated, I quickly can roll it off my tongue real quick. So I could have kept going and just talking about you, but I know that we have to get into our segment. Once again, Faith Walker community in our Facebook land, in our YouTube land, I want you to understand that you are in for a treat. And I am excited to have this woman with me today. And again, this is Mrs. Boss Mom in the studio. Boss Mom. The first question I'm going to ask Arriel, where did the name come from?
So that is interesting. It came from me working with my own children.
Okay.
My son started his first business when he was 7 years old. He wanted something out of the vending machine, and I told him no. I'm like, no, you always begging, you always want something. But then I said, somebody owns these vending machines, and all the money that's in these vending machines, the owner takes it. So then he quickly said, well, I want to own vending machines. And me being an overworked, overtired mom,
yes,
I said, no, you don't know nothing about running a business. But then I realized I wasn't speaking life into him. And
right.
As I'm driving, those words didn't sit right with me and what I spoke to my son. So I said, you know what? If you do a business plan, you do some market research, and you come back, we're going to get you a vending machine.
Wow.
And he said, okay. And about 3 days later, he came back and was like, I got it. I'm like, you got what? I forgot about it. Like, I said it, but I forgot about it. But he came up with a business plan. He told us how much the machines were going to cost. He told us where to go get the machines.
Yes.
And we went and got his first 2 machines. But I want to take a step back before I say we got the first 2 machines. Me and my husband were living paycheck to paycheck. We didn't have a lot of money saved, nowhere else where we could grab from. And when he came with that business plan, we realized we don't have to buy these vending machines, but how do you go and tell your child you don't have it?
Right.
So then,
and if I can just pause right there to tell our audience of how we met. Arriel and I used to stay next door to one another. And while she was next door, and I'm talking about directly next door. Yes. So her house was here, my house was there. But while she was getting ready to venture off into this business and this life and this journey, I too was getting ready to venture off into the childcare business. I started my childcare in 2005 in my home for 2 years before we came out. So while you were living paycheck to paycheck, I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but we both had dreams. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yes.
We both had dreams. We both believed in what we had, that there was more for us, that was inside of us. So we just had to figure out what it was. I just had to interrupt you with that because I thought that was so pivotal to say that, because like you say, you were living paycheck to paycheck. You didn't have the savings. You didn't have the money even for one, but you had a child that went, and because you said, if you go and get the marketing, if you go and tell us how much it is, and he came back with that, and now you're like, what I'm supposed to do with that?
Right. And yes, and you said we had dream. I really didn't have a dream for my, to be honest. My dream was to give a better life for my child.
Yes.
That was my dream, because I let my dream sit on the back burner.
Yes, yes.
And when he did that, it made me come alive again, because I'm like, if he believes this and he can start a vending machine business, what's wrong with me? I'm a whole grown adult.
Right.
They got more resources than him.
Right.
They got more knowledge and wisdom than him. And he believes that he can do that. I need to start believing that I can do stuff.
Come
too.
on. Yes.
So that's how that happened. But to talk about we didn't have the money, he had to set up a lemonade stand first to raise the money to get the rest of the money for the vending machine. So within 3 days, he made $1,200. The vending machines was $3,000. And we, for Christmas, we decided, we can't get you gifts if you want these vending machines. And he spoke right directly to us and was like, yeah, but as long as I make money, I'll be able to buy myself what I want. So I don't need gifts.
Wow.
Just let me make the
We're
money.
talking about a youth.
Yeah,
How old was Mikey
at
at
the
that?
time.
Yes, Mikey was 8 years old at that time, and he was speaking such life.
Yes.
He went out and did the work. He went out and before then, he even went out and did the lemonade stand and was lucrative, because grown people, a whole grown self, as you said, don't make $1,200 in 3 days. But he went out and he did the work, and he came back to prove, I believe in this. And then he came back and say, well, it's okay for this Christmas because I'll be able to buy my own items for, you know, my presents for Christmas.
Yes. And I will say too, even with teaching him, it came with teaching him the word of God, because he would say, I can do all things through Christ who give me strength. And then I would say,
come on,
you can't do that. And he was like, but you said I could do all things. So if I can do all things, I can do this. And then it started making the word of God come to life in my life, because we serve God, we want to do the right thing, but sometimes we're doing it out of routine and not out of true relationship. But it made me develop a true relationship because I'm teaching something that I'm not doing or not believing in. Not that I'm not doing, but I'm not believing in as a faith of a child.
Yes, as a faith walker. I want you to say that just one more time in regards to I can do all things, because there's someone that's sitting out there, Arriel, that's saying, why it's not me? Why it's not working? I just want you to really talk to them just for a quick second and let them know, like you said, it all stems from the foundation of the Word of God. And the Word of God began to bring life into the situation where you all were currently, and you were seeing as a childlike faith in action as a faith walker. Can you just speak about that just for a little bit?
Yeah, I would say when the words I can do all things, all is the key word. What is all? What is encompassed in all? Making sure that whatever that thing is, you put it in the place of all. And then that thing, you're going to be able to manifest and do it as long as you're believing in this, in alignment with what God's plan and purpose is for your life. Because sometimes we do think we can do all things, but if it's not in alignment with God's purpose, it's not going to come to pass. So you got to make sure you're under good leadership. You got to make sure you have a prayer life, so that when things come to you, you can make sure it's a God thing and not just a good thing. And that's when you know you can do all things.
Yeah, not just a good thing, but a God thing. Yeah. That's amazing, because it's called manifestation. It's not going to manifest unless God's seal of approval is on it. And we believe that because you're sitting here today, out of all of the years, and when did that take place, Arriel? Even though he was 8 years old? He was
8. So I want to say it took place in 2015.
Okay. And he was there, and he was manifesting what you all are living today.
Yes.
Amazing. Let's switch gears and talk about social entrepreneurship. Our segment today is based off of social entrepreneurship, and it's designed in a way to create 3 things, and I have my team to really give me some understanding of those three things so that we can delve into it and apply it to what you're doing, because I believe that you are walking in such social entrepreneurship. And we had a conversation before our live taping today, and I didn't even know that you were teaching social entrepreneurship all over the world. But when God gave me the segment for social entrepreneurship for you, I just looked at the steps in your business play, in the steps in your journey, and it looked as if those three things, which were developing young entrepreneurs, is what you're doing. You fund and also help young entrepreneurs get the funding that they need to go forward in their new businesses, and you implement new opportunities for them to be able to go forward in their businesses as well. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Tell me what else about social entrepreneurship, how it relates to your journey.
To my journey, it started with who I am as a person. So when people say building a brand, or I gotta build this brand, when you're building a brand, it's who you are at your core.
Yes.
And who I was at my core. I love to teach entrepreneurship. I love to work with kids. And then I knew that I wanted to do something good to make change and bring different in community.
Yes.
So in doing that, I looked at the different problems that what I do can solve. I made a list and I said, oh, instead of just teaching kids how to play basketball or teaching kids how to do dance, I can do all of those things.
Yes.
I want to teach financial literacy that's going to teach them to set them up for their future. And then I had to do some trial and error to see, okay, these kids ain't feeling financial literacy, but they're feeling business ownership, which ultimately leads to them making money. And then I can teach them how to manage the money that they make.
I was just talking to someone yesterday, and I told them it's a work backwards. And it was a work backwards for you. And I understand in social entrepreneurship, because in my own journey as a serial entrepreneur, I understand one thing. I said, God, make me the answer. Whatever problem there is. So therefore, when he put me into childcare, I said, okay, you made me the answer for those that don't have childcare or don't have a dependable, reliable, and or a safe place to drop their children off during the day. Make me the answer. And that's been a goal of mine. To anything that I do, make me the answer so that I can be able to provide for those that have a problem. And it sounds like that's what you're doing with our young youth and our young entrepreneurs. Is that correct?
That's correct. I like to tell people we are too reactive to things. We have to be proactive. So getting them while they're young and teaching them is better than to unteach them something that they've already learned. So if we can get in front of them and say, okay, we know you need financial literacy. So as we're teaching ABCs and 1, 2, 3, we also should be teaching money management in a way that they can understand it. Even with little pennies or even little dollars, explaining to them the value of money up front. That is a tool to use as an exchange. Not that this is your life, and if you don't have it, you're not going to do. No, it's more of this is a tool that you're going to use to make your life easier than making it harder.
And because we understand that money get people excited. And money get our youth excited. You didn't put the forefront of the money, you put the forefront of ownership. And we are in a place where ownership is big, right? So when you're speaking to our youth, how is it that you get them to understand about entrepreneurship? Because there's a difference between entrepreneurship and ownership.
That is a good question. It's basic, simple. You are a problem solver. Entrepreneurship is just solving a problem. And if you see a problem that you can solve, that makes you an entrepreneur, not necessarily a business owner, not necessarily anything else, but a problem solver. And being a problem solver leads you into entrepreneurship, because people will pay for you to solve their problems. I tell the kids, when your mama got a headache, what does she do? Or she got a toothache, what does she do? They say she going to the dentist, and she don't care how much it costs. She going. I'm like, because she has a problem and it's irritating her that much. She don't pay whatever it costs to get that problem solved. So you look at that and say, what will a person pay me for to solve a problem for them, and that I can actually do? Nothing that I'm making up to do. We're not going out to fake anything. We're actually being able to truly answer somebody's problem, and usually it comes through the journey that we walked in life. That we can answer somebody else's problem.
That's right. And what we're doing is, like you said, well, like I said, and as we agreed, we're solving their problem. Because if you go out there and start a business, you starting a business and no one needs your services, the problem is still existing.
Exactly.
So it's a waste of time. Let's switch over to, how did you become an author? Because it seems like, and we're gonna talk about this background that you have with this, becoming an author, and the books that you have written and the things that you have done as far as publishing with these young children. I am amazed. I am amazed, to say the least.
Yeah, I became an author, to be honest, being told it's okay to tell my story.
Wow.
Because I didn't realize that my story had so much significance, that I've been through a lot, and I was only looking at the challenges and not looking at those challenges as something that somebody else is going to go through and it's going to help them through their journey. I didn't realize so many moms wanted better for their children that were living in low income, living in neighborhoods where if they didn't get a hold to their boy children, the wrong things were going to end up in their hand. So they needed a positive something in that child's hand. I didn't realize so many people around the United States were going through that. So as I started to tell my story verbally, they was just like, on every corner, I see the person that you're talking about, the drug dealer. They're looking up to them because they have money, they have the cars, they have the things. But we as business owners have that too, but the kids don't see us as readily as they see the people doing something illegal.
That's right.
So I was like, let me solve this problem for you parents.
Again, going back to the problem solvers. Yes.
And that's how I became an author. I put step by step what I did to teach financial literacy, financial independence, but also make sure that my son knew the right thing to have in his hand, because everything in our environment was telling him that this wrong thing was okay.
Okay, that's good.
But it's not.
That's good, that's good. And that is amazing, because when you say telling your story, and it's okay to tell your story, we have so many that's telling their story the wrong way.
Yes. Yes.
The wrong way.
Yes.
And instead of making it so effective, and we're losing the battle in telling our story because it's not becoming effective in the way that we tell it.
Yes, and I can say a lot of that comes from unhealed trauma.
Oh my God, please stop.
Okay.
She said, okay.
Look, seriously, because we tell our stories from a way where we just want to get it out there. We want everybody to hear what we're saying, but we're not looking at the lessons that we've learned through going through what we go through. Or
the effect longevity. Because that, once you put it out there, whether or how you put it out there socially, or, you know, even in a book, and if it's wrong, it's longevity there. And there are some things that you have to be aware of. I'm gonna let you talk.
no, it's be aware of and understanding that because I'm going through it right now, my perspective could be off on what happened.
My God, today.
It could be off. So, but when you're in a healed space and you're ready to tell that story, you take ownership of your place.
Please say
in
it
the
again.
story.
Please
and
say
what
that
you
to them.
did.
Please say
You take ownership of your place in the story of what you did and what you could have done better, whether to protect yourself or to make sure that you're not in that position. But we do a lot of things that lead up to something because we idolize certain things. We think certain things is more important, and we think this is what's going to get people to like us, want to be around us, and that's not the case. So when we're hurt by certain things, we run out and want to tell how we were hurt, but not tell what we did. And really, when we tell our stories, we really should be telling our story as how you get through what you went through, not what happened.
Right. Because the objective is to help somebody else to come through, and not to harm them in the middle of what they're going through. Maybe the same thing that you're going through, but it's a way that you tell it. And we, like you say, we have to take ownership of, I did this. We have to take ownership. I may have not handled that right. We have to take ownership. I may not have said that right. But until we get to a place of healing, we can't tell a story and be effective to the next person. You just preached the whole sermon. You just preached the whole sermon to our community, because so many people are telling stories, and so many people are writing books, but they're not writing them in that healed space to be effective to somebody else. And that's where the world needs to really pivot, because when you get to a place of telling I first, instead of telling they first.
Yes.
And again, we're going back to that opposite and that upside down living, because many want to say they before they say I.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and you write the story to help others, and that's what brings you in the money, to be honest, because you make more money the more people you help.
My
because
God.
people pay for a problem that they're having. Your story should be an answer to their problem.
That's right. That's right. That's
and
right.
that's how you're going to make money from it. And it's not even about the money, it's about you being healed and being able to say, I can get my story out there, but then God is going to say, now I'm going to allow this to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going personal, because my son sold over 25,000 copies of his book, just talking about his journey.
His journey and his truth.
And his truth.
Of his story.
Yes.
Because we have so many folks that have written books and that are lacking.
Yeah.
But they're telling it out of the wrong space.
It's out the wrong space.
They're telling, and the truth to be the matter is, they should have just been journaling.
Yes, so I was going to say that. I'm not saying not to journal. I'm saying
Right.
your story and what
Yeah.
you're going through is real.
Yeah.
Your experience is real.
Yes.
Write it all down. But what I'm saying, everything that you wrote down don't need to go in the book. It really should follow a formula where it helps somebody else. It should go through a certain stages, and you're helping them to understand when you go through a breakup, this is what's going to happen. You're going to go through a grieving
Yes.
process. So talk about that grieving process, that you're going to want to pick up the phone and call that person. You're going to want to have them next to you when the holidays come.
Yes.
But that's going to pass, because you're going to live to the next day after the holiday. And will you be upset after that happens?
That's right.
Because you called them over
That's
when you
right.
really shouldn't have. You was going through your healing and grieving process. So like
Come on,
that helps
Arriel.
you through the process.
Yes.
So when you tell your story, you got to tell that I did this,
Yes.
and this was the consequence. I invited him over.
Yes.
And I knew that I shouldn't, because I was lonely.
Come
I invited
on,
him over,
Lord.
and this is what happened. So
Yes.
I don't want you to go through this. So these are some things that you can do. You can journal, you can color,
Yeah.
you can play silly music, jump around your house, you can skip. Like when you skip, you start laughing because
Yeah.
there's a dog,
Yeah.
you're skipping, and you're
Yeah.
like,
Oh my
"Why
God, what am
skipping?
I
feel
doing?
crazy." But it makes you laugh,
Yeah.
and it'll put you in a
Yeah.
space to make you
Yeah.
not feel like you want something that
Yeah.
once hurted you.
Yeah, this is a tennis shoe moment.
Mhm.
This is an in your face kind of tennis shoe moment that you gotta say, let me just be real with you. And then that's why I made the comment. That's what you should have been journaling, or that's what you should have been standing in the mirror saying,
Yeah.
girl, look at her, or
Yeah.
man, you know, whatever the gender is. But that was not the time to say, I'm going to go out and help somebody, because it's not. It's not, because you're not healed enough to help someone. And one thing I love about a lot of your books, and I was looking at them last night, a lot of them are not just helping young children.
Mhm.
Was that the way it was planned?
The Mom Boss book was.
Okay.
And the reason why, because as a mom,
Yes.
I wore that title, but forgetting that I'm a woman first.
Mm.
I wore all of these other titles, and as a woman, I had to get back to who God created me to be. Because
Wow.
I knew who I was as a mom, I knew who I was as a wife, a servant, a sister, auntie, but as a woman who I'm growing into, with going through all of these different stages of life, who is this person? I lost her.
Wow. Can you say that? Because a lot of times when we as women lose ourselves, we lose ourselves into something.
Mm-hmm.
We lose ourselves into being a wife. We lose ourselves into being a mom. We lose ourselves into.
Let me say this.
Mhm.
I lost myself into being the ideal woman of God who I thought
Wow.
people were saying that I should be, and that hurt me because I couldn't be my authentic self. I thought that I had to be this way to be a woman of God, but I just needed to be who God created me to be, and that's how he was going to use me for his kingdom. I didn't know that. So when you read the beginning of my book, I thought that I had to wear big church hats. I thought I had to dress a certain way, and I thought I had to wear stockings because I was told that you don't have on stockings and you about to do that. Oh, like, and I didn't know, because I'm new to Christ. I'm old as an adult, but I'm new to Christ. So it discouraged me. So I'm like, let me go find some stockings, or let me go. But it threw me off from delivering the message that I was supposed to be delivering, because I'm trying to figure out, is my stock, do I got on stockings?
So concerned about the look, the makeup of it all.
Yeah.
I was looking at, and I keep this picture in my prayer room all the time. My first time standing before God's people as a pastor and the founder of Keeping the Faith, I had on a gray suit. I had on pantyhose. I had on this suit, this church suit, because I thought that was the makeup that I needed to step into the role that God had called me into. And you said something so powerful, but when I learned who God really wanted me to be, and that was my authentic self. Got a lot of backlash when I switched over, but I made it through that.
Yeah.
And one thing about losing ourselves, we'll lose ourselves into the hype of what people have told us. And I'll put this on me. Here's where I went wrong. I didn't go back and ask God.
Yep.
I just went off of what people told me.
Yeah.
I just went off what I saw other pastors doing. I just went off of what I was learned. So it was an unlearning that I had to do. I had to unlearn a lot of things that's not who God created me to be. And so therefore, I'm okay with it, and it's okay, because if it's pleasing God, it gotta please the people, because there's a people that He have already assigned to me.
Yeah.
Wow.
And people ask me, how do you have so much influence? How do you get so many people from around the world to come to St. Louis to be under you and get teaching? I said, because I keep God first.
Yes.
I show up as myself. I said, they see me with my crib walking self.
Uh-huh.
They see me with my dancing self, my silly self.
Yes.
They see me who I am, and they're drawn to that.
Yes.
And guess what? Because they're drawn to that, and when they're in their broken stages or they're going through their journey, I can minister the word of God to them without saying a scripture, because I've lived it, and
it's
God's word that's in
Yes.
my heart is penetrating their heart. And
Yes.
they'll say, Arriel, I don't read no Bible, I don't know nothing about God, and you don't have to.
That's it.
Look, just go to God as you are, pray this prayer of repentance,
Yes.
and then start where you are. Find you a good church base,
Yes.
and then just start learning.
Yes.
Like, just try to grow a close relationship with God. That's all that God is asking for, and He's going to draw you the rest of the way. We're just planting the seed, and if this is the way that we got to do it, this is the way that we do it.
And it's called freedom. It's called freedom.
Freedom.
Because many are dying in bondage, and until we get free, we can never fulfill. We can write all the books that we want, but are they effective?
Right.
We can start all the businesses that we want, but are you answering a problem? Are you being the answer to someone's problem? Well, you can do a whole lot of things, but if you are still sitting in bondage, and I had to realize that I don't want to be in bondage. God, if you called me to this, I don't want to be in bondage. I want to be able to walk free, and I want to be my authentic self. I got the backlash when I started being me, the heels and the red lipstick, and now that everybody want to wear the different color lipsticks and the heels.
Standard that was set, and some people can't break free until they see you break free. And sometimes we think it's about the people outside of the church. Sometimes you're setting an example for people inside the church to say it's okay to use your voice and to walk by faith, because God is talking to you too.
Yes.
So if we truly don't say we're faith walkers, it's not what somebody else telling us, it's what God is telling us, and walking in what God is telling us, no matter who it makes mad around you.
Faith walker community, did you just hear what she said? Because it's so powerful that if we don't just tell it, we live it. We live it, and I'm living this faith walk. I'm living this place that you're sitting in now. It's a by faith. It's a by faith, because it's a step-by-step process. Let me just ask you, Arriel, how many books have you written?
So currently I have 4.
Okay.
And then I just released a new book with my daughter over the weekend.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes.
Number 2 on the bestsellers list.
Number 2 on the bestsellers list.
And number 1 hot new release. So I'm super excited about that. That my whole household, my husband's a best-selling author, my son is a best-selling author, I am a best-selling author, and now my daughter gets to experience of being a best-selling author at 9 years old.
Wow, amazing.
So I've written 4 books, but what I'm passing down is legacy.
Yes.
So it's like, who's going to tell your story better than you tell your story? So when you read the books, even with my daughter, it's really going through a journey that we went through when I got diagnosed with breast cancer. she wanted to play with me and I couldn't play like I normally would play with her. And she was 3 years old at the time. So it was like, oh, we can bake in the kitchen together. Let's start baking cupcakes. Well, we were baking cupcakes to have fun, just mommy and daughter. But then I started to venture out and speak more about my breast cancer walk. And I was planning events, and my daughter was like, well, can I be a part of the event? I want to do something. And she's like, we can sell these cupcakes. And I was like, you know what? We can. So then she started baking pink cupcakes, and then we started to sell them for $1 a piece. And then we took the money and we gave it to breast cancer survivors. So my daughter is a social entrepreneurship too, because she saw the problem. She wanted to help with the solution to give back to the community. And so she started to give back to breast cancer survivors. So we sent 2 breast cancer survivors to Vegas. We gave them spending money. We gave them brunch. And then we also gave them a bunch of gifts from other kid entrepreneurs. So I reached out to my kid entrepreneur network and I said, do you have something that you can turn to pink that you want to donate to these breast cancer survivors? And the kids jumped in and they were so excited to give back and do. And let me say this too.
And that's what social entrepreneurship is. And many are missing it because they don't follow those steps. And into anything, there's a process. And those steps are called our processes that we walk through as entrepreneurs into our social entrepreneurship. You wanted to say something, and I'm gonna say something because you mentioned 3 things in that one statement that you said. You see how she just skirted over that she's a breast cancer survivor.
Yes, hallelujah.
And then she skirted over. Yeah, that's so true. Yes. And then you talked about legacy, passing it down. And then you talked about your whole household, the unity of your household. You want to say something before we go further?
I just wanted to say, kids get a bad rap coming up. They just selfish, they don't want to do this, they don't want to do that. That's not true.
No.
Sometimes the opportunity is not put in front of them for them to learn the stages of what it's like to not be selfish, just to give back. So when we say on Christmas, let's take your kid out, instead of giving them their gifts first, let them go do something in the community. That's how we're teaching gratitude up front. Because they don't know anything different than what we're showing them. So we want to give them all of these things, but not giving them the true things that they need, that we want to teach them in the lessons, is showing them gratitude. Whenever I do something for my daughter says thank you. I take her lunch to school. She's like, mommy, thank you. I help her make her bed. Mommy, thank you. That's gratitude, but it was taught.
And many think that children just come out knowing.
They don't.
They know what they see. And always it's not good. They know what they hear. But you still have to take the time to teach them.
And we really teach them to be selfish. When we give them and not make them, or teach them how to do something in return to give some, we make our children selfish.
Arriel, what keeps you working with the youth though?
To be honest, I think it's hard to change adults' mindsets. and I want to work with adults. I want to work with adults, but my patience and understanding who I am as a person, it's easier for me to work with the youth. Do I believe God is going to call me to work with adults? Yes, because you have to have a lot of patience to work with kids. So I believe God is working that in me to where I can stop running at some point and say, no, I'm truly going to work with adults, but this is the way I'm going to work with them. But I feel like I would get frustrated more, and I would do more damage if I work with adults right now, because they don't listen sometimes, and they want to do their own thing, and they know more than what you know, even though you've had success in what you're doing. They're not teachable. Kids are very teachable because they're in a state of mind that I am about to be taught something. But when you turn 18, 19, you've been taught all your life. When you're an adult, you know, but really you don't. You're always in a form of being a student.
Oh my God.
I just said that. I just said that. Forever a student. I am forever a student, even though I'm, age, but always a student. And you just were so honest about that on yourself, saying that I don't have the patience to work with these grown people because they think they know it all. And I just think that was so important. Let me take a step back, because I just gave you 3 things. You're a breast cancer survivor. How long?
I want to say 5 years now. So I had cancer twice. So I had cancer in my 20s, and then I had cancer in my 30s.
Mhm.
So the first time 10 years, and this time I think I'm 5 years.
All
This-
right,
in
all
And we
April.
clap real good right there. Yes. And then the second thing I want to talk about just briefly before we move on is legacy. That's so important.
Yes, legacy and telling your story in the way. So I tell my kids, I said, I grew up in a family, loving family, but everybody told the bad stories about the person. So when you go for, remember they did this, remember
Yeah.
they did that, and it
Yeah.
wasn't the pleasing things that they did, it was always the negative things that they did.
Right,
And
right.
I told my kids, we're not gonna have those type of stories. Yes, they might have happened, but that's not the legacy we're gonna carry on with you. I won't speak bad about you, you won't speak bad about me. Yes, bad things happen, but we don't have to carry those bad things. So
Wow.
what we're gonna speak about is legacy building and how we built something from scratch.
Yes.
Those are the stories that people will know about
Yes,
us.
yes. And like you said, we don't have to expose everything else because you're going to create a reality for them that
Mhm.
these are the things that we built in our household.
Mhm.
That is
Because
amazing.
the negative outweighs the positive a lot. So when you hear the negative story about a person, it's hard to draw back to the positive thing that they did.
That's right.
So it's
That's
like,
right.
no, we gotta create our own narrative around what we want this to be. And I'm not saying things are not happening, because stuff happens.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, does that outweigh the good that you've done?
Mhm.
No. So all this good that you've done, all these lives that you impacted, that's what really matters.
That's
Not
right.
that you didn't pay an electric bill, or that you didn't buy a pair of shoes,
Come on.
or that you didn't, like
Come
that
on.
stuff don't even
It
matter.
doesn't
But
matter.
people will hold on to that.
Yes. And one wrong, wipe out everything else good. 50 things that you could have did good, but one wrong
Mhm.
will wipe it out. I want to talk just a little bit about that because this conversation has been amazing. And I know that we are encouraging so many. I know that they are narrating, I know that they're talking about it, I know that they're sharing, and I know that they're liking, and I know that they're doing all of that. But we want to give them some reality because even though we're talking about social entrepreneurship and everything that is good about it, being an entrepreneur has not been easy, right?
No, it has not.
I want to give my audience some reality to that because I always like to give them the good, wonderful things, the excellent things, but I want to give them some reality of things that you could not put in the book, things that you could not talk about, and the struggles that you had to go through. Everybody don't have struggles, I get that, but that's not my story.
And that's not mine either. And to be honest, I put it in the last book because I felt like it was time. I was healed from it. I went over it. So during our journey, we lost our house. We lost everything and had to move in with my mom.
Wow.
But we were still running business. We were still out in the community. We were still showing up smiling and hurting on the inside.
Wow.
But because I knew what God said, I knew that was just part of the journey.
See,
so
that's what we need to hear right there.
Yeah.
She said through this journey, she lost her house. They had to move in with their mom. They lost everything, but they were still running businesses. They were still showing up. They were still showing up.
We were
with
still
a
traveling
smile.
around the world.
They were still traveling
We were still catching
around
flights.
the-
We were still
They was catching flights.
We were still. It looked like, but the reality of it is, we were going back home to our mom's house. Like truly, we were homeless. And when I tell my son that, he was like, because he said it to me, he was like, "Mama, you know we homeless." I'm like, "We're not homeless. We stay with Nanny." He was like, "But it's not our house."
But you never dropped your assignment.
Come on.
Yeah. So we kept
You kept
going.
your assignment, even though your personal life was being hit. You kept your assignment.
Yeah.
And many wonder why you're successful.
Yeah.
Many wonder why we're still successful because you were going home to your mom's house. It wasn't yours.
It wasn't mine.
It wasn't your family's. It wasn't you and your husband's. It wasn't the children. It was somebody else's home
Yeah. with
that
the
the
whole
mortgage
family.
had.
With the whole family, the husband coming, I'm coming, the 2 kids. The only thing we didn't have was a dog. But like all of us is at my mom's
Yes,
house.
the whole family.
The whole family, and the business
Yes.
is at my mom's house.
Yeah, and the business had to move to your mom's house as well. But you never stopped your assignment.
No, and that only happened for 8 weeks because it was the interesting thing was because we're financial literate,
Uh-huh.
we had savings, we knew what we were going to do. The house that we owned, we owned it. We had got caught up in some back taxes, and we had the money to pay for it. But God blocked it, and we knew that it was a block because it was like, we got the money to pay for this, but we're not allowed to pay for this. What is wrong? Like, they was like, well, you can't pay for this. You got to do this. You got to do that.
Yes.
And during that process, we lost it because they wouldn't allow us to pay for it. But we had the money for a down payment for something else. So I'm going to say it was a setup by God because that house was like 900 square feet. Right now, we live in a 3,000 square feet house.
Did you all hear? Because when you say the assignment, in spite of what you got, I know y'all in the studio is excited, but wait a minute. We were just in a meeting, and I'm gonna just give this real quick testimony. We were just in a meeting, and I shared some things with my team at that time, that team that I was talking to at that time, and I had some witnesses there, and one of them was Minister Keetra. She was there, my administrator, and they was telling them, even though I was going through certain things that you all didn't see on camera, I never stopped my assignment. And many wonder, how she keep on doing this? Why she keep on doing this? Because when you are assigned to do something by God, you have something inside of you to say, I'm not going to let the house, I'm not going to let the car, I'm not going to let the children, the husband, whatever stop me, because if I fulfill the assignment that God has called me to fulfill, I know that everything else is going to work out. So coming from 900 square feet, we may have had to go and stay with Nana, that you call Mama Nana, Nanny for 8 weeks. However, now we're in over 3,000 square feet. And that's a reward because God said, I'm going to pay you back for staying on my assignment.
Yeah, and even staying with my mom, we didn't know how long it was going to be.
Yeah.
But as soon as we went, we looked at apartments. We couldn't get approved for apartments. And I'm like, we can't get an apartment. But God said, I said, house.
My
that
God.
I was moving you from this house to that house. And to be honest, we would have never left that house because we owned it.
Yes.
No mortgage, so it was comfortable.
Yes.
But that had to happen. The shaking had to happen to get us to move. But we went to a realtor, and we're looking at all these houses. We're putting bids on it. We're doing 10,000 over the bid, credit score where it needs to be. All of this stuff. And it kept because it was 1,700 square feet. It was 1,500 square feet. It was 1 bathroom and a half bathroom. We have 4 bedrooms and 4 bathrooms. Everybody got their own bathroom.
Wow.
Like we have a suite off of our bedroom.
Stand on the assignment.
But if we would have settled, and I was getting upset, I'm like, this house journey is something crazy. We put in bids, we getting excited, but God said, that's not what I want for you. And we went and looked at this house. It was 270,000 on the market, and I'm like, we only got approved for 229. So I'm just like, we can't afford that. And that house just kept coming down. When it got to 235, I said, let's just go look at it. We got some cash, we can put more with it if we need to. We went to look at it. They dropped the price again, and then to 225, and I'm like, oh, we getting it. And so we went in with the whole thought process. We get in this house. They came back because it was after inspection. It was some stuff. They dropped it to 210, and we was like, oh, okay, this is ours. We can afford it. Everything is great. Went to close and it couldn't close because we had a lien. Could not close. But then the owner of the house said, no, I believe like y'all believe that this y'all house, so we're gonna let y'all lease for till that lien comes off. And then we're gonna sell it to y'all at that price. When they sold us, so the lien came off about a year and a half. The lien came out. We went right to closing because we still had our same contract. They just moved the closing date. So they moved the closing date until we were ready. We closed on the house. When we got that house appraised for $310,000, we paid $210,000 for a house. With all $100,000. And we were already in it, so we didn't have to move in it because we were already living. We were already there. I'm like, we're already living in the promise. We just gotta believe God that no matter what it looked like, no matter going to the closing table and they saying no, no matter what it looked like, nothing rocked our face because we believed that God said, this is yours.
My God.
That's a true faith walk. That's a true faith walk. And if we just as entrepreneurs, you and I are sitting here right now, put this in perspective, it really was social entrepreneurship in your personal life. In your personal life, the 3 steps, it still was the same 3 steps. Development, it still was the funding, it still was the favor, it still was the opportunity, it still was all social entrepreneurship, knowing that you applied it to your personal life.
I tell people, when you run business, it goes over into your personal. Like, you run your personal just like you run your business. You run your business like you run your personal. Our house runs like a business.
Yes.
Our household, the structure is like a business.
Yes.
But that's what we understand, and that's what we're trained in from the kids on down. Mikey was already doing it. When we brought my daughter into the fold, it was easy to teach her. This is gratitude. This is giving back. You got to solve somebody's problem. What problem are they having? And she's so innocent with it because that's all she knows. She doesn't know all of the other stuff. She knows the word of God, and she knows entrepreneurship.
Because you built it into your reality. And that's the way I am with myself. My household, my husband, my children, all of us understand the structure because I've been in it for so long. I can't just turn it off when I go through the doors. So therefore, if I'm structured here at my office, at my child care centers, at the real estate, if I'm structured in a church and all of that, and I tell the people at church, I'm not just going to teach you church. I can't. I have to teach you kingdom, because when you leave out of here, life still is life. And therefore, you have to take these tools and apply them. So therefore, we teach kingdom principles so that you can be able to apply them to yourself. Now, if you're not doing it and your life is not lining up, that's not my problem. You got to go back and see where you have that breach at, and you're saying you're not applying it to your own life because the tools are being given, the principles are being given. And in social entrepreneurship, we have to apply it, and we will see a result.
And I'm glad you just said that, because sometimes we think social entrepreneurs is business owners only.
No,
it's personal too. It becomes personal because you have a personal responsibility in your personal life to be structured as a person, so you can be in corporate America and have a positive attitude, wanting to give back, seeing how you can jump in and do something to make something better.
That's right.
Being the solution to the problem. So when they're standing around the water cooler talking about what just happened, you got to be the positive light in the midst of that, which is still a kingdom principle.
That's right.
We have to learn that we have to stay positive and not being drawn in by negative energy. And that's social entrepreneurship at the end of the day, because you're setting the atmosphere that you're in, and you're not being drawn into other stuff that's going on a job. You can do that because everybody's not meant to be entrepreneurs, and that's just the reality of it. But that's why we're social entrepreneurship, because we can provide jobs and put you in an environment that you love to come to every day and show up for.
That's right. And don't be consumed with what's going on in the negative. Don't be consumed with that. You have to be able to stay in a positive light, as you said, so that you can stay focused. There's no way that you are going to tell me that in order for you all to shift your home the way that you had to do, you had to continue to look to the past. You had to continue to look at the negative. You had to lose all of that. And in order for you all to move forward, you had to look at some type of positive. Well, you know what? God got something get better for us. Well, you know what? This is going to be a great move. Well, you know what? This is going to be temporary. Something you were telling your family and yourself to keep yourself from being discouraged. That's why I tell people, when you want to be negative, that's because that's what you wanted to do in the first place. When you wanted to quit, that's because you wanted to quit in the first place. When you wanted to just go ahead and just jump in with the other fish that was down below instead of staying with the eagles to soar, that's what you wanted to do in the first place. Because we have a choice.
And it's not an easy one, it is not a tough one, but when you have good leadership, we're going to help you to develop where you need to be. We know everybody's not there at the same time.
That's right.
But if you talk and you're open and it's an open line of communication, we can help you to get to where you want to be. And it's not going to be easy. We're not going to do it for you. You still got to do the work.
I want you to look in that camera just one more time. And I want you to tell them, talk, communicate, say something. Communicate, because we don't understand non-language.
And I will say we have to have the right heart posture when we come to communicate, because sometimes we want to come and talk, but we on 10 and we gonna tell somebody off when really we need to reach for understanding and go with the right heart posture and saying, I'm coming because I think we had some type of misunderstanding, or I didn't understand something that you meant, so I want understanding. Go with the humble heart to say, I really want this to grow. I really want relationships to work. And I believe a lot of relationships are broken because we won't come humble to say
Faith Walker, y'all see how I'm looking at y'all?
That I did this, and it might be my perception on how I heard or what you did, so I want to make sure I have an understanding. But when people show you who they are, believe them.
That's right.
And when they tell you who they are, believe them.
That's right.
But understand the position of your heart when you come to somebody and want clarity or something, because we see it in the restaurants. People come and they order messed up and they ready to fly off the handle.
Yes.
It has nothing really to do with their order, but it's the position of their
heart. That's right.
So you got to check yourself.
That's right.
Before you go to somebody and say, I'm ready to talk.
That's right.
Make sure your heart condition is in a way that you're ready to receive whatever it is they're about to say, and that you're ready to do the work of change, especially when it's true that you need to change.
And you have to do the work prior to.
Yeah.
And that's where it comes into the play of your heart posture. You have to be able to do the work before. We're getting ready to wrap up.
Okay.
We're getting ready to wrap up. This has been such an amazing segment. It has been wonderful. You said that you don't work with adults. And I am so privileged because you worked with me here these last, we talked about it over a year ago, and now it's getting ready to come to fruition. My first children's book. Woo! It's not even about the book. The book is great. It's great already. It's best time seller and all that good wording that you use. But for me, it was so honoring that you allowed me to be one of your customers as an adult. You and I had a conversation. And I said, Arriel, I trust you. I trust you with this project. I trust that you will do what is necessary for me to make it and bring the vision to pass. I trust you. I trust your business. I believe in your business. I believe in the God in you. And when I tell you after our conversation, all I could do was tell God, thank you. Because it showed favor for me. Because I didn't know what I was doing, but I knew I had a vision. But God sent somebody like you. And I know it has not been easy. I know it has not been in the limelight all the time that you wanted to be. But I believe, Arriel, because you have stepped out in faith, I believe that the doors that God is getting ready to open up for you and the opportunity, social entrepreneurship, the opportunities that God is affording you is getting ready to blow your mind. And I publicly, I've said it personally, but I publicly tell you thank you, because you don't know how much that meant to me, that you would say yes to me.
And to be honest, I was saying yes to more of a friend from you pouring into me over the years. You bought me my first outfit. And you didn't know, but it was my first time receiving an award for the work that I do in the community. And you immediately said, I want to buy your outfit. You said from head to toe, pantyhose and all. Wow. You said, I want to buy everything. And you bought my outfit for that event. And I went to that event confidently because you didn't know what we did not have. You just said, this is what I want to do. You didn't say how much I want to have, but you just said, this is what I'm about to do for you. And then you said, and you don't have to say nothing to nobody. You just walk in it. I'm doing this for you, and you don't say anything. But I need to say, because you didn't know what point of my life that I was in, and we were building, we were creating, and we had all this public fame. But you pulled me like a little kid and like, but let me do this for you. And I appreciate that, because you didn't say how much money you had or what you got going on. that sticks with me. So when you call, I'm coming, because you don't know how much that changed my life. So I'm here, and you also restored my faith in working with adults. I said, this was an easy process. She just let me do. I would put suggestions in. Most of the time, adults don't work like that. I want this and I want that, and give me this, and no, I don't like that. And it's okay not to like certain stuff, but sometimes the attitude behind it, that I believe is the God in you that allowed you to allow me to see all adults not like this. So you pick the right people. God will bring the right people to work with me, and I will be comfortable, because I don't want to lose it, and I don't want to be a bad witness for God. That's why I said I don't have the patience, because I don't want them to be like, oh, Arriel is up. I don't want to be like that. So I'm like, Lord, I want to stay as a willing vessel to draw people to you and not away from you by my attitude. And I know I can't do that, but He restored that with walking through the process with you. Like, all adults are not like that, and I can't put all adults in that basket.
Right. So I say thank you. I am so appreciative. The book that you just wrote.
It's amazing.
Amazing. Cupcakes.
Yes.
The pink cupcakes with you and your baby girl. Number one. Amazon.
Yeah, so we're #1 hot new release in 4 categories, and then we're bestsellers in 3 categories. Children, jobs and careers, children values, and then social skills and development for kids. But we're bestsellers in all 3 categories.
Bestsellers. That's how I know that I came to the right one. That's how I know that God sent me to the right one. Because why try to go and spin the wheel when it's already been successfully spent? Arriel, this has been amazing. Again, thank you for spending this hour with us. Thank you for giving some truth and some honesty. Thank you for being your authentic self. You show up like that all the time. And keep showing up like that all the time, because that's what we need in this season. Faith Walker community, I want you to give a good round of applause to our guest, Arriel Biggs, better known as Mom Boss. Mom Boss. Until next time, we want you to click, share, and tag somebody that needed to hear this. Go back and watch the replay. Make sure you share it on your timelines. Make sure you go to our YouTube page and also like it. We are on a roll. We are almost there. And we are going mainstream, because conversations like myself and Boss Mom and everybody that has been on in the past and those that are coming on, one thing I do know about this, that it is well needed. So Faith Walker community, until next time, we'll see you later. Shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you. Thank you.